Hi there, Jesse with etrailer. Today we'll be taking a look at, and I'll show you how to install the CURT T-Connector custom fit wiring harness with the 4-pole flat connector on our 2024 Kia Sportage. Adding trailer wiring to your Kia is absolutely essential if you plan on doing any kind of towing with it. It's going to make your trailer lights work, and it's going to keep you safe and legal out there on the road. Here's what your wiring will look like on your vehicle. We do have some brackets available here at etrailer that you could mount to the hitch if you wanted a more permanent solution, but our neighbor today chose to just have it hanging here by the dust cap on our hitch, and that's going to work just fine. Once again, this is an essential if you're planning on towing. It's going to keep you safe and legal out there. It's going to allow your trailer daytime running lights to work, and your turn signals and your brake lights just to signal to other drivers. Also, we're seeing a lot, it's becoming a lot more common that cargo carriers or other accessories have lights mounted on them, and you need some kind of wiring to do that, and this 4-pole flat connector will work just fine. As far as the installation goes, CURT and Kia make it super simple. All you have to do is remove your taillights and plug into the factory wiring. And one hiccup we ran into was our wire for the right side taillight wasn't long enough, and we just needed to take some extra wire that we had, or you can purchase some here at etrailer and extend that out. If you don't believe that you can do this yourself, maybe you just don't have the time, space, or tools, feel free to check out our dealer locator and someone will help you with it. But if you do plan on setting this up yourself, feel free to follow along and I'll show you how we got ours set up. We'll begin our install here at the rear of the vehicle with our lift gate open. We need to work on removing these tail lights. So we have this plastic cover that's blocking some bolts that we have to get to. You're just going to have to get a trim tool or maybe a screwdriver. Just be careful about damaging anything. And you just kind of work your way up and it should release itself. Set that aside. Now we have two 10mm bolts holding our tail light in. Get those popped out. Now all we have is a couple of pins holding our tail light in, so you'll have to try to pull it straight out. I already have the passenger side removed and kind of struggled with it, so just be patient with it and just be careful. You'll see I have tape around on the painted parts of the vehicle just in case the tail light makes any contact so it doesn't scratch, but we'll just pull straight out as carefully as we can. And we got that out, and all we have is a connector back here to remove. Just push that tab in. May help to push the wire towards the plug, and then pull it out and set that aside. Before we go any further, I'll just run through what all of our wires do real quick. So we have this harness here that's yellow, brown, and red. This will hook up into the driver's side tail lights. There's also a ground attached to that, which we will show you how to do later. We're just going to ground it to the body of the vehicle. Those run into our black control module here. And out from there, we have our green wire, which will run over to the passenger side. We have our black wire, which will extend out and run up to the front of the vehicle where the battery is located. And then, of course, our 4-pole, which will hang out down there by the receiver, and that's what we'll plug into our trailer whenever we're using it. So the way we'll get these wires ran up here, I actually have some airline tubing here. There's a small pocket we can slide down into, run that, and then it should poke out the bottom. And once we get it out the bottom, I will tape our driver's side up and then I'll pull it up. All right, so we have our wiring harness taped to our airline tubing. We just have to pull it up. You'll also have to kind of work it around everything. We'll get that pulled through. get it out here. So for now, you'll see I taped our ground wire down just to make sure it didn't catch on anything on the way up. And I'll work with that first. Just gotta take this tape off here. And separate that. And we just need to find a nice solid metal piece that we're not going to interfere with the actual tail light getting installed. I found a spot beforehand and just kind of pre-drilled it a little bit. We'll take our included 1/4 inch self-tapper. With that ground secured, we can plug in our harness. I just took our airline tubing off of it, and we'll find on our new wiring harness a female end that will plug into the factory wiring here. Just clicks in, and we can grab our tail lights. And this end will match up with the plug on the tail light. Just clicks in. And you might have to get your wires out of the way, but we can reinstall our tail light now. Now we need to find a good mounting point for our black box here. They include some double-sided tape with a little bit of padding on it, so I'm going to use that. And you can really stick this anywhere you find a nice flat surface. On our car today, we have a nice flat surface that's pretty clean. I wiped it down, so it should stick just fine. So we'll just press that up there and that'll stay, and we don't have to worry about it falling off or hitting against anything. Now we need to extend our power wire. The black wire in our harness there is already stripped, but we'll have to strip our extension out. So just take your strippers, get a good amount that you know will fit into your butt connector, and strip that off. And now your kit will come with these butt connectors here. Here at the shop, we prefer to use a heat shrink anytime we're working outside the car. The heat shrink butt connector is going to seal up a lot better than just your standard one like the others. So take that, and first I'll butt connect it to our extension. Just slide it in there and crimp it. And then we'll connect that to our harness here. Once we have this connected, we'll run over it with a heat gun, and that'll be sealed up. For our right side tail light, the green wire, I ran it up above our bumper beams here, and I'll zip tie it to this wiring harness just to clean it up a little bit. But I got to this point and I realized that this is not going to be enough wire to go up into our tail light actually. So what I'll have to do is, I found some scrap wire laying around the shop. If you don't have extra wire around, we do have some available here at etrailer. But I'll have to put a cut in there and just splice this in with some butt connectors the same way we added that extension onto the power wire. Here's what our extension looks like. You'll see I used 2 heat shrink butt connectors again, and I used more than enough wire just because if I have too much, once I get up to the tail light, I can always just bundle it up and get that cleaned up. Then I taped it to another airline tubing, and it's the same technique as before. Pull it up through, and then we'll get it plugged into that tail light. I'll just give you an overview of how we ran our power wire. Main concern is just avoiding anything hot or any moving parts. So I ran it up above our subframe here, away from the exhaust. Up there, just make sure you stay away from any suspension components there. But from here, we're basically free and in the clear. I just attached it to our line here, ran it up across the back of the fuel tank. Had to use a couple 10mm, I had to use a 10mm socket to remove a few bolts to drop this pan down. And that wire's tucked up there, and it comes out here. So what I'll do is run another airline tube down from the engine bay, and I'm going to try to follow these brake lines up to where our battery is. We have the wire pulled up into our engine bay, and you'll notice we have quite a bit of slack here. So I'll just cut this down a little bit past the battery. Once again, you don't want to have too little wire, you'd rather have too much. So we'll cut that and strip it. Then we have our fuse holder here. I pre-crimped our ring terminal on one end and another heat shrink butt connector on the other end. We'll get that connected to our wiring harness here. While you're doing this, you want to make sure that the fuse is not installed. It should come in the bag separately. Get that crimped down on our battery. We have a couple of options where we could mount it. I'm going to use this nut right here. Should just be a 10 millimeter that we should be able to remove. And we'll slide our ring terminal in between the nut and the battery there and get that tightened down. Now we'll just take our included 10 amp fuse and install it into our holder here. Just line up with the tabs and give it a nice firm push. Now we're ready to go back to the rear of the vehicle and get our 4-pole wiring set up and ready to test. Now we have our 4-pole plugged into a 4-pole tester. You could also just hook up to your trailer to verify everything's working there, but we have these 4-pole testers available at eTrailer, so if you feel the need to get one, go ahead and grab it. But we'll just run through all the lights. We'll have our tail lights here, left turn, right turn, and our brake lights. And that's going to do it for our look at and installation of the CURT T-Connector wiring with 4-pole connector. I'm Jesse. Enjoy the ride.